in 2009, I started my entrepreneurial journey as an alteration girl on a bike, cycling house to house. I was spending all my spare time watching movies of all kinds in English with English subtitles over and over again and reading books out loud to sharpen my English. But I never knew one day I would have my own globally sought after fashion label and make it a real success even on the most difficult times. On my early days, I didn't even know what mentor meant. And I wish I did, because ever since I established the power of sharing your knowledge and experience and how others' survival story would become our guides to success, I couldn't stop. I would have never dreamt of interviewing such a high caliber woman across the globe, from former BBC presenters to bestseller authors, to share their stories along with mine to help hundreds and thousands to level up. I have a real heroine of mine as a guest today, Forbes Riley. She is an absolute exceptional woman who is also on a mission to elevate the voices of people who are dreamers and entrepreneurs that deserve to be heard. I'm so honored to have you here, Forbes. Welcome.
Elif, I was quite an honor. I adore you from the moment I met you. I think I've flown over your home country just recently. I was quite interested in looking and seeing the ports and how that works. And you're just a delight. You're talented, you're energetic, and you're a very beautiful woman. So I'm happy to support you in your efforts.
You are so amazing. I mean, I was so lucky to be one of your students as you being my mentor, and it's a lot has changed since you touched my life, and this is why I feel like everybody needs to meet you and everybody needs to hear your stories, which you have hundreds of inspirational stories, but I'd like you to share especially the one that I think you remortgaged your house for the business that you believed in so much to make a difference in your life and everybody else's. It was so fascinating for me.
Well, I'm actually looking for my fitness product as you're talking, because I'll tell you what, so if you're an entrepreneur, I do have a great story. A story of a little girl who grew up with two wonderful parents. And I think that's an interesting moment. One of the things that I teach and preach at my age, I'm 61 years old. I've lived a lot of different lives, a lot of different careers. And I've come to understand, as I've taken a lot of people through different kind of breakthrough trainings, is that your emotional map, almost like the interwoven fabric of your personal being, like your blanket. Because if you think about your mom and your dad, that could start to weave, and your grandparents, they all weave together. Then there's some golden threads that make you unique and special, but every once in a while, somebody will poke a hole in it or tear at it. And unfortunately, if it's not a well-woven fabric, it's not fun to wear. So you think about if you've been molested or hurt as a child, or you witness your parents yelling and screaming about money, or you didn't have parents or someone died at a very early age, it really has an effect on you that I don't think you realize. So for me, we didn't have a lot of money. But I did have two parents who thought that I was very special. Now, I was also an ugly, awkward, goofy little kid. I had a broken nose for 8 years of my life. I had gotten hit with a face and a baseball bat. I had buck teeth, and I had braces, and I had a tongue twister for 2 years. I couldn't talk. Nobody could understand me for 2 solid years of my life, which is one reason I think I love to speak so much. But I managed to overcome a lot of the obstacles because I had a faith in me. I had a faith in movies and TV. I had a faith that other people were living amazing lives, and why not me? And I set out to live that life. I think I very early on got the message that you could design the life you wanted. Now, there's obviously people who can say, no, you can say whatever you want. All I know is without any money, I managed to go to New York. I managed to pursue my dream of acting. I managed to make a really nice living. And at the moment, I've always been the breadwinner in my family. We own homes and television studios and clothing line. We own all kinds of things, pretty much because I said I wanted to. And that's very different than somebody who's been born with a silver spoon in their mouth. And odds are, if you're an entrepreneur, you weren't like that. You had to overcome something. And the degree to which you're successful is in direct proportion to the degree that you believe that you're supposed to be successful. And this one over here is very interesting. I mean, I have entrepreneurs. I have a gentleman who lost both his arms and legs in an accident, and he is successful. Now, he may not be living the dream exactly the way he pictured it, but he's a motivational speaker and he's changing lives and he's on a path. And so you have to look at who you are and what you've been given and what it is that you want and what you believe about yourself. And I think one of the things that I love doing is I get people to believe in themselves just a little bit more. Yeah. Because I have all these rules. Like one, you're the sum of the obstacles you overcome.
Yes.
So if you go back and you take the negative things that you've been viewing as negative and you bundle them up and say, well, that's actually the fuel for my Ferrari. Well, wait a second, how's that possible? Well, I take the time that I was being bullied about being overweight and that my mom was 260 pounds my entire life. And I created and launched a fitness product, unlike anything else, called a spin gym. And I wouldn't have done this with such passion if I'd always been a normal weight. But I know what it's like. This particular one is in purple for Elif because I love purple. Yeah. And this little guy, and by the way, when I created this, nobody wanted it. That's a whole nother entrepreneurial journey. Just because you want something doesn't mean you get it. But my passion for health and fitness came out of the fire that I was on Broadway and was made to go to Overeaters Anonymous because I was 15 pounds overweight and couldn't figure it out. I was made to feel so horrible about myself and my body for so long that I made it part of my mission to help others not feel so self-conscious. I have a great way to tone your arms and your muscles and your abs with this little product. Well, I wouldn't have been so committed to that if it hadn't hurt so much. And so I take all the sum of the obstacles and I make them work for you. I also have another one that you get what you tolerate. So if you're involved, like I might have been, with a very narcissistic man for too long, who put you down or tell you that you're not enough and you start to believe them, then all of a sudden you're not enough. And it's funny how this little thing in your brain dictates a lot of who and what you are. And so when I was young, I wanted to be James Bond. I saw the movies, fell in love with the movies. My dad was an inventor and a magician, and I did card tricks, and he was a big dreamer. And I thought, that's what I want to be. I want to scuba dive and snow ski and fly airplanes and eat in fancy restaurants. And I didn't want to be a Bond girl. I wanted to be James Bond. Well, I'll tell you what, a lot of what happened to me in my life is in direct proportion to the fact that I wanted to do these things. Even skiing, it always seemed very glamorous, this whole skiing thing, right? Well, when I was in my early 20s, still didn't have a whole lot of money, but I said to myself one day, I want to go skiing. And with that, I looked in the newspaper and there was an ad for a company called Ski View, and they were looking for an entertainer who could create a Club Med style bar party for what they were doing. Well, the irony is that for the last 10 years before that, I had been working for Club Med. But it also said,
get what you want.
Right, but it must say must know how to ski. Well, my theory was you don't lie, but it didn't say must know how to ski by what date. I know that sounds silly. But when I walked into the audition, the first thing it says, do you ski? And I said, of course I do. And then we moved on to the next question. Because if I'd been honest, it would have just ended there. So I said, of course I do. Trust me.
I just need to learn.
Yeah, if only I'd known. And so I then went on to get the job. He offered me the job because I was very qualified for it. And then I went off and there was a Club Med at a ski resort in America. It doesn't exist anymore, but it was at Copper Mountain. I called them and said, hey, I'd like to come up and help out for a couple of weeks. You get an opening for me? Like, oh, sure, come on over. And for 2 weeks, all I did from 9 to 4 every morning was learn how to ski. And by the time the job started, I could ski.
Amazing. So inspiring.
If you know what you want and you want to go get it, you don't let little things like that stop you.
Yep.
And so that came in very handy when Spin Gym happened, because at some point, one of my cargoes, 2,200 units, got seized by U.S. Customs, and they held it for. There was like a little. I used to have a DVD in here. Do I have a DVD in this one? I do actually. And on the DVD was this little thing. It's not on this one, but on the DVD it had a little DVD symbol, and apparently that is trademarked by somebody. I didn't know it. I didn't even want it on there. My graphic designer put it on there. And it cost me 8 days of my life, over $54,000. And we had to literally, with a black magic marker, black out 44,000 DVDs in 22,000 units.
Oh.
Want to learn what you're made out of? Get pushed against the odds. And that's when you realize that the universe is definitely going to push you going, how bad do you really want this? And I've had that a couple of times. And by the way, if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, you better be ready for the ups and the downs. This is not an easy career at all. But if you, like I believe, Elif, you did the same thing, you come to understand that this is what you do. This is what you want to do. You're willing to fight for it. And then you go for it. And I'll tell you what, I wouldn't trade the trajectory for anything, but it has not been easy.
Well, if you're an entrepreneur, you've got to eat hustle for breakfast.
That is part of, but you and I say that, but you and I know what it means to live that. Is it right for everybody? No. But if you've got a dream, you at some point have to say to yourself, what is this life I'm living? Is it worth playing small and not getting what I want or building someone else's dream? And there are times when you do. I raised 2 children in between all of this. They just hit 18.
Beautiful children, yeah.
Which I know that you have not experienced yet, but I'll tell you what. I'm literally just kind of walking around going, they did it. They graduated. I just got a videotape. They're with their grandfather this week in Colorado.
Amazing.
And he gave the 2 of them and their other cousin, who are all born in the same week, a $2,021 check. Because they're for 2021.
Oh, yes, of course. I was going to ask, what is the 2021? Yes.
Right. And I'm looking at this and I just burst out crying going, we did it.
How amazing.
Right. And that was part of the journey. And now I'm on to a different part of my journey. I'm literally talking to you today. I'm sitting in Dubai. I'm sitting in a very high floor at the Armani Hotel in the Burj Khalifa skyscraper, next door to the world's largest mall. You literally go downstairs. We get a special key code to go to the back door of the mall from this hotel. And the mall is just beautifully obscene. It has got every single store you've ever heard of. There were stores that went out of business, as far as I can tell, in the US. They're here. Pinkberry yogurt, my all-time favorite yogurt. They had that downstairs. There's a ski slope in this mall. There's an ice skating rink, and there's, who knows, it's incredible. But the last 2 months, I was in the jungles of Costa Rica.
Yes, so I've been following you all the way around. Looks fabulous.
Well, I took my business online. You can't do this when you own a dress store. You can't do this when you own a physical product, but you can do it when you own a coaching business, or you can do all of your whatever you do online. And that's been an interesting part of this year. I'm also recovering. Joshua, my fiance, got hit by a car and spent 6 months in a wheelchair. And so I've watched him just disintegrate. He was a top bodybuilder and he shriveled down to nothing. He woke up in June of last year, it's now 1 year later, and said, I'm going to be Mr. Olympia. Now, people work their low lives to get even to qualify to that point. I'm like, dude, you don't look real good. You're kind of skinny right now. And he just said, I've decided. And when you sit at the feet of a world champion, when they make a decision, there's nothing else. I've never watched somebody work so hard. I thought I was good at this. He lets me know that
when you want something so much, you do. And what I'm hearing is that you had every reason in your life journey to give up, but you didn't. Instead, you just went for it and turned all your adversity into advantage and made it a phenomenal success, but not only for you, but you're also helping others to do it. So that's what makes you so amazing.
I just never saw an option. I don't know what else is there. I never had a job in my entire life. And I just have always done kind of what I wanted to do. And so I wish I knew, I think the one reason I love teaching is I wish I knew then what I know now. And I can teach people that. There are a lot of tips and tricks. And it's been an extraordinary life. I mean, if you read my resume, which I advise people to please don't do it while I'm here. People like to go, oh, let me read. No. People want to know about me. My resume, my bio is online. It takes an hour to read it. And it includes things like having 2 national talk shows, hosting ESPN's X Games, helping to start the world of infomercials, starting with QVC and HSN for 28 years. I can go down the list. It's like, oh my gosh, how did one person do all that? The answer is, who cares? Honestly, I was so busy doing it, I don't remember how it all got done. But now that I am teaching and coaching, Elif, it's interesting because now I sit here and go, okay, I really am turning a chapter in my own book, thinking, all right, how big a career could I have as a motivational speaker? Could I become one of the world's greatest female motivational speakers, as I stumble on my word? I'm tired. I just got off a 3-hour summit, but become one of the world's greatest female motivational speakers ever.
You are, I think, to me.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm on stage right now with Deepak Chopra, Les Brown, uh,
Exactly.
Jack Canfield, Damon John. I'm looking it around and I'm like, I think you might have done it.
I think you have. I don't know why you're saying that. You are, Forbes.
Well, I
You are
think
an inspiration.
and it's kind of fun, isn't it? It's fascinating. Elif, do you feel like you've made it? Do you feel like you're where you want to be?
I'm not where I want to be, but I'm certainly on the way there.
Yeah, it's a very interesting. I think this is a weird phenomenon about getting older, is you realize you better get where you said you were going to go because you don't have a lot many years left. You're like, oh, I think I'm here. I think I've done a lot. I'm in love. I'm looking around, going, where do we want to live next? And we can live anywhere in the world.
Yes.
And so it's been like at the moment, I think that every entrepreneur dreams of actually getting to. And when I hear baby entrepreneurs having imposter syndrome, whatever,
Imposter syndrome, yeah.
knock it off. Just enjoy where you are
That's right.
because we all have this moment. I mean, I have not met Oprah. I need to meet Oprah. And I just have to ask her if she wakes
That's
up.
my dream too. Please bring me with you. I'll dress you.
I mean, she'd bring her some clothes. But I would like to ask her, does she wake up in the morning and go, whoa, look at that. I'm Oprah. Just because people do that to me all the time. Like, oh my God, you're Forbes Riley. I'm like, I have been for a very long time. Thank you. And it doesn't feel like, it's like, this is kind of cool. It's like, all right, what does that represent for other people? And it's a cool time in my life to give back. So ask me another question, otherwise I'll just keep talking.
Well, my question will be, I mean, I can ask you so many questions. We would end up being here for 8 hours. But what was your biggest regret in life that you wish you've noticed earlier?
Well, here's the thing about regrets. You can't wish for any of them because then you wouldn't be here. So I thought of a couple of things I would have done differently, and I don't want to say any of them out loud because none of them would have brought me here, and I love where I am.
Amazing. Oh, you're so inspirational. I mean, ever since I've noticed the power of being coached and mentored and hearing other people's stories and their success journey and failures actually at the same time, to hear it actually empowers me. This is why as well as being in the fashion industry, I decided to go into the coaching industry to help others who want to come into the same journey as I am and share my journey and my difficulties that I've faced so they don't have to go through the same
All
problems.
right, well, you know what? I'll share a failure, and I have a couple of them. I'll share a failure that I had a very hard time getting over. This one just blew me away and made me so. But I got approached. I love clothes. As you can tell, I love things that are unique and stylish, and I have a very eclectic sense of design. And I like what I like. In fact, I keep a lot of my clothes that I've gotten over the decades because I'll never see these pieces again, and they're just not traditional. So I decided that clothing can make you look thinner. And I'm very much in the athleisure business where I'm working out all the time. And someone had shown me a pair of leggings with built-in Spanx. And so it kept you, kind of tucked in. Oh, I love that. And so I talked to them. And then I said, well, there's a funny thing about sweatshirts I don't like. I don't like scoop neck things that cut you off right here. And I don't like having pouches in front of your belly to make you look even bigger. I said, what about something that had a different collar and this, blah, 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 blah. And they said, well, have you ever thought of your own line of clothing? I said, well, not really. And they showed me this line that they had. And they said, well, is any of this interesting? I said, well, I like some of your fabrics. I like some of the big buttons they had. They said, well, we can put your style on this if you can launch it on home shopping. So I found an investor and I designed this collection called Love Your Body by Forbes Riley. And I mean, a couple of things that were really important to me, like it had a little tramp stamp on the very back of the jacket, because I wanted, when you walk away, I wanted someone to look at the stamp and not my butt. Little things that just bothered me.
I never knew this. This is amazing.
Oh yeah. Well, in fact, the other thing that I loved about the pants were I wear a lot of Brazilian clothing. And I have since Brazilian clothing came out, and it's all made out of supplex, which means it's kind of spandex in two different directions. Really sucks you in, and on TV you look extra good. But the problem is, I guess all Brazilians are tiny. I am a mother of twins. I have a little belly, like little scarring thing, whatever, around my belly. So I'm not wearing a bra top anymore. And all their fancy designs were on the waistband. I thought, well, no one ever sees my waistband. So I took the fancy designs and I put them down by the ankle. Anyway, I did a lot of this stuff, and I'm very, very thoughtful. And then I did it in pink, black, cobalt blue, and was white, gray, cobalt blue, pink, and black. But anyway, 5 colors. And there were 3 or 4 different pieces. There was this jacket, a pair of kind of bell-bottomish pants, a shirt that we wore underneath, and they all had very specific things to them. We take it on home shopping. I get it sold into home shopping because I'm friends with the CEO. But what I didn't realize was that the head of merchandising was not a fan of mine per se. And he was not a fan of the fact that the CEO told him that he needed to have my clothes on. So he priced them very high, and he gave me a very odd time slot. So there we are, first thing in the morning. My co-host is a beautiful woman wearing this cobalt blue. I'm wearing my outfit, and we sold pretty well. And I had these before and after photos, like before in a pink and gray outfit, pink and gray, but regular traditional sweatpants. And then my outfit, the woman looked 10 pounds thinner and more beautiful, just changing the style. And that was my whole pitch. Well, from my first show to my second show, apparently one of the executives didn't want my athlete kind of clothes on their runway. So they moved our set last minute and made it very uncomfortably weird, no rehearsal. And the woman who was my co-host the second time decided to wear the gray on television. Gray versus cobalt blue and black and pink. It just didn't look so good. And then she wore a big bag over the entire, for her next product she had, I'm like, could you take the bag off? And she's like, oh, no. I'm like, okay. And then Elif, it got worse. So I'm already a little discombobulated. Then we do before and afters, right? My plus size model comes out, and normally you can see the TV to figure out before and afters. Well, I can't see the TV, neither can she. So she says, oh, well, there's the before, and doesn't she look so much better in the after? Well, production had made a mistake. It was the same girl in the same clothes.
Oh,
and so we looked like, okay. I said, I think there's a problem. Now, as soon as you do that on home shopping, people are like, it breaks the magic. But I'm like, I can't, we have a little problem here. They're both the same outfit, could one, and then they're trying to change it. Now, this is where it got embarrassing. My plus size model is white, and the girl in the catalog wearing the same outfit is black. Well, they pull up the black and the white girl, and they say, oh, doesn't she look so much better now? And you're like, oh no, you guys really screwed this one. And it's getting worse, and it's worse. And the clock is ticking, and it got so bad that the entire collection, like everything just died. We made no, whatever happened.
Oh.
On the way out the door, I get a note saying, your clothing is done. You're not invited back because you did so badly. But then there was a kind of a spoof TV show called like E! Entertainment or something.
Mm-hmm.
And they got a hold of this footage and they ran with it. They actually then said, Forbes Riley's collection is not doing very well. They kept wanting to go back in time, and now they showed me an embryo. Well, that's not the right photo either. And then they showed a picture of me with horns, going, she's taking her clothes to a whole nother network. Anyway, it was horrible. And the CEO would not listen to me. Nobody would give me a second chance. And all the money that we all invested was completely gone in literally 2 hours.
So what could you do differently, maybe to make that different result? I feel like there was not anyone around helping.
No, there wasn't.
It
was a cluster. It was a little bit of executive or corporate sabotage.
Yeah, it looks like a sabotage to me, anything than designs.
So I guess what might have helped is if I had another outlet to sell my clothing. This was before Amazon was really big. There were things we could have done now that you couldn't have done back then. The internet wasn't quite as popular. And it was a lesson learned. I don't even know what the lesson was because I wore my heart on my sleeve. I loved the clothes, and it was a little bit of corporate sabotage. And you just know that not everybody wants you to win, and you roll with the punches.
That's true.
You know.
I've already experienced that myself. Not everyone wants you to win.
Yeah, and
but you keep running anyway.
It's a little disheartening because I'm a very logical 30,000-foot view, and I'm thinking, no, why would that happen? But it's things like that have happened since then, where you're like, not everybody's on the same team. Not everybody likes everybody. And people don't like you for all kind of reasons. You're like, wow.
How do you respond to the haters? I hate responding to the haters.
I suck at it. I take it way too personally.
Me too.
I don't want to. I'm told that you're not supposed to respond to them. But my logic just goes, why would people hate on who I am or what I do, or why would you spend
Because
any
you
time doing
care, isn't it? Because you care about people, and just you know how hate makes someone feel. You want to help, I bet.
So what you have to do is you have to surround yourself with people who keep you from seeing those things, or who respond, and just don't. And you have to really come to understand, especially when you get very popular, that there's nothing that you can do about it, and you just go on. And my daughter, who's one of my business partners, she's like, Mom, 999 people love you, one doesn't like you, and that's the one you focus on. I'm like, I know, no, I
I'm going to ask you one more question because I know you've got very busy schedule, and you must be tired from 3 hours of summit. What does confidence mean to you?
It's so funny. I just played that song for somebody on the summit. She said she just wanted confidence. Confidence is the ability to stand there and truly not care what anybody else thinks. And it's a funny thing to get to this point, because my whole life I only cared what everybody thought. I was ugly, I was awkward, I was put down, I was bullied. And at some point, I just stopped. I didn't have a lot of friends growing up, and that turns out to be my best asset. I think people who, and I wanted it so bad. I've tried so many times to be part of families and have these kind of friends, and I don't fit in very well. And but when you're around other people, they talk in your ears, and they don't always say the best things. So I like doing things on my own. When I was in my early 20s, I decided I wanted to see Europe. I grabbed a backpack and a Walkman, and I took off for 6 months, and I didn't ask anybody. My mom's like, "You're going by yourself?" I'm like, "Why would I ever want to go with anybody?" But that's how I was wired. Why would I want to ask somebody for permission to go to a museum when I want to go to the beach, or vice versa? Now, I will tell you, I was married, and that was for a long time, and I have kids. And now I'm with a man for the last 5 years who I don't want to do anything without. But that's different. That's somebody who's on my team, who loves me and only wants the best for me. Your friends don't always love you. Your friends tolerate you or put up with you or whatever. And so being confident means you've got an idea and you put it out there. Means that you come to understand that who you are is as important as you hoped you would be. I'm at a point now where I believe that my voice is meant to be heard. I think that my point of view is unique and helpful to people. And I don't care what you think. I mean, not that like we talk about haters, but I don't need your approval to go do something. My parents are both long gone, and I'm here to serve other people and to do great things while I still have time on this planet. I will tell you, the people who stole your confidence are generally people who are not around anymore either. And the most people, what you deal with is a little voice in your head that if you were raped or molested or hurt or put down, and the thing that you need to do, you need to face that inner kid and have a conversation with the perpetrator. I know that sounds crazy, but to stop thinking about them. And I call this breakthrough training, because otherwise you harbor these negative thoughts, and they
Having been through your breakthrough training, I highly recommend to everyone. I've probably forwarded to 10 friends after it.
what changed for you?
Everything. I mean, just like you said, I don't need anyone's approval. I know exactly who I am, my sole purpose, and I've found my gift and I'm ready to give away. I don't care what others think, why I'm doing it. It's
But
not my business.
did you before breakthrough?
I didn't to an extent that I feel right now. I feel almost liberated of my own thoughts.
So how do you describe breakthrough?
Breakthrough is it's finding your voice that was there for you already, but you seem to be so bothered about people around you and society and your friends, your family, that you want to believe what others think, but when you have these breakthrough, you kind of free yourself. I just feel like liberating. Breakthrough was liberating for me.
So one of my hopes moving forward, because Breakthrough at the moment is me working with about 12 to 16 students once a month.
Yes.
I do it on a weekend, and it's changed everyone's life that I've ever touched. And I know that, and I feel honored to be doing that. The question now is, if you don't expand it, it won't be as helpful as it needs to be. So I'm working on how to do Breakthrough at a one-to-many level. And I think we're calling it the healing, because what people I think are missing is they've been hurt. Almost everyone I've ever connected with has been hurt. And even if they didn't mean to be, mothers and fathers sometimes say the wrong things. They do the best they can, but they may have been raging alcoholics or wanting to get divorced or have money issues or whatever it is they're dealing with. And it's about time that we started healing people. Otherwise, that pain continues.
That's right.
That
healing is so important. Like, not just forgiving them, but you're forgiving yourself for not forgiving them for such a long time. And I have forgiven everyone, and everything had happened to me, and that feels so powerful.
I'm going to challenge that word. It's not forgiven. Forgiven is a weird word that I don't think we as humans have the power to do. What you did was you broke through the desire to please and have them hold onto you.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like you let it, not forgive, but you let it go. Those things don't affect you.
Yeah.
There's another word where you chose to go, I release it, I let it go. There's all kind of words. But somehow that forgiven thing, and you know how I know that, Elif? Is because people come to me all the time and said, oh, I've forgiven my mother for that. And I'm thinking, no. Then they go through Breakthrough and you realize they didn't. So maybe there's another word, but I definitely think we need to heal people.
Yeah, I totally agree. Thank you so much for... Say again?
I said, we'll heal them and then we'll dress them.
Yes.
Why is clothing so important to you?
Because it is the closest thing to your skin, and it makes you feel so powerful, even though some days that you don't feel. It can make you look tall. It can make you walk taller and speak louder if you're dressed in the right clothes.
Now that's interesting. Does confidence make the clothes, or does clothes make the confidence?
Oh, it's a bit like chicken and egg, isn't it? But I would say it depends. Well, if you are feeling down, you can use your clothes to reflect a different image outside, because it's how you been perceived by outsiders with what you're dressed as. If I dressed in a different outfit, you would see me different. If I was in a hoodie, loose fitting, no makeup, nothing, I wouldn't look as presentable for doing such a thing. It is very powerful, and you can tell the world who you are without having to speak.
I love that. I've never heard you say that before, but that's so true.
It's so powerful. You can even tell people what religion you are with your clothing.
Well, as I'm here in Dubai, that is for sure true.
Mm-hmm.
And very interesting about that's having a very interesting conversation about how people look in their clothes, men versus women in clothing, heights of clothing, what they show on their body. It's very interesting. All right, well, I just do love you. It's almost 10 o'clock here in Dubai.
Thank you so much, Forbes. It's been great talking to you. Love you.
Wonderful summit. And by the way, if you guys want a free gift from Forbes Riley, there's a whole video series that I'm giving away completely for free. And I would be happy to let your friends and family have access to it.
I would love to, if you could send me the link, I'll share it on the event notes so they can follow it.
I will. All right, baby.
Thank you, Forbes.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.